the world and economy is going to shit. A lot of people blame the billionaires. So we're gonna react to 20 people confronts a billionaire featuring John
Today,
Morgan.
I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. What stops you from helping
But I don't think most billionaires have a lot of money in their account. They have them in assets. That's why they are so rich.
every person in this room that's struggling right now? How do you help them? What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today and I'm struggling. I got bills, man.
He's just chilling. He don't give a fuck.
I'm John Morgan, the founder of Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Yo, it's the people that's sponsoring everybody, right? The free law firm where you. I'm not sponsored. I'm not gonna speak like.
And
I
according
don't
to
care.
Forbes, I'm a billionaire. Ask me anything.
My first question is, how much are you currently worth, and how did you amass that amount of money?
I'm a lawyer. I went to law school and became a lawyer, but I'm also a serial entrepreneur. I built and operate a chain of attractions across America. I have Marriott hotels across America. I built shopping centers. The big part of my wealth has been generated by my law firm, Morgan & Morgan. Well, I don't know exactly how much
Who's the other Morgan?
I'm worth. I used to tell my kids when they were little, when their friends would ask them, are we rich or not? I said, the answer is this, we're comfortable.
What do you mean comfortable? Like, you definitely have way more than just being comfortable. You live a luxury life.
Do you call
Yeah.
being worth $1 billion comfortable?
Very. And, but you don't feel like it because you don't spend it. When you grow up a certain way, it's not like it's changed much in my life. I'm in the same house. I don't spend the money that you would think I'd.
Like the problem is that you are always looking at the people above you. Basically, no matter how much money you have, you're always looking at the people above you, right? The people with the bigger houses, the bigger yachts, more cars, the better cars. And it doesn't really matter if you're making 100,000, 200,000, $1 million a year. You're still looking at the people above you, and you wish you could be at that level.
Spend. It's odd because you have all this money in the bank, but it doesn't really change what you do day to day.
My question for you is, what stops you from using your wealth to change somebody's life?
Another interesting thing is that if you see people living from paycheck to paycheck, it isn't actually a very big difference between people that earns 50,000 and people that makes 100,000. Because when you have more money, you will most likely just spend more money. You will spend it on unnecessary things, and yeah, that's interesting. Like if you're like, okay, people are able to survive off 50,000, 100,000 should be more than good enough, but people stupid with money.
Nothing. Listen, I live 3 places. I live in Florida, I live in Maui, Hawaii, and I live in New Hampshire. But I've taken my wealth and done certain things. Like in Florida where I live, I ran a constitutional amendment twice to legalize medical marijuana. I lost the first time, but I won the second time with 72% of the vote. I believe that income inequality is the #1 issue facing America today. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And every day the gulf is getting wider. So what did I do? I ran a constitutional amendment. I spent tens of millions of dollars to raise the minimum wage from $8 an hour to $15 an hour in Florida. That's a doubling of the minimum wage. So I take that money that I make and I've run those.
A lot of billionaires do good stuff. Like again, he's has like a law firm that protects people when they have been injured and shit. So you could say that he is doing a lot of good, and in a lot of cases you would need to have people that have more money to be able to make companies, to make workplaces, right? If you don't have these companies, and like people that can give you work, you wouldn't have any workers, and it would be harder to find a job.
Those constitutional amendments, and I've put money into food banks and coalition for the homeless, and it goes on. And I will tell you this.
But again, there is a difference between 50 million and a net worth of 50 million and a net worth of a couple of billion.
Yes, not to pat me on the back too much about it because I don't really feel it. I don't really feel it. I was at lunch the other day and this woman walks up to me and says, John, I just want to thank you and your wife for the donation you made to iDignity. I didn't know what iDignity was. I said, how much do we give? She said, $500,000. It turns out that my wife had given the money. And by the way, if you want money, call my wife. And iDignity is a place for the poorest of the poor to get identification because more and more in this country, you need to have an identification just to get food stamps. I believe when you make this kind of money, you have an obligation to give it back. You don't feel it. It doesn't hurt you. You know, you can look at me and know I'm not missing too many.
The real thing is that a lot of people in America don't have identification, and that just blows my mind. Like, why? A lot of them don't even have passports. Like, just why? Just go and get yourself a passport. It ain't that hard.
Meals. So I don't feel like I'm doing anything special. I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
So I'm gonna try to rephrase it. What stops you from getting out that car at the moment where you and your son and you seen the homeless person? What stopped you from changing that person's life?
Well, I do get out of the car from sometimes. When I pull up to a stoplight and there's somebody out there begging for food, even if they look like they've been eating donuts for the last 10 years, I give them money because I'm not going to judge them. I look at them this way. They're out there on the street.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. Like, a lot of these homeless people will just use the money for drugs, and that ain't good. And if you're gonna do it to everybody, all the people you see, then you'll become broke, and that's not good.
In the heat. I don't know what they're doing out there, but you know what? It's not my job to judge.
I feel like a lot of billionaires, they say the same thing. They say they do donate and they do give to people. You give to organizations in large
Don't you get like a big tax write-off if you're donating a lot of money?
conglomerates that take your money and they break it up and they throw it around. If you're not handing something down to help somebody who really needs it, then what does it matter?
You're in the law field, and that's how you've amassed your network and everything that you've earned. If you had to start over in a different industry, what would you be in order to become a billionaire again?
I don't even know how it happened in the first place. So it's like keep waiting to wake up, and it was all a dream. I was like, how did this happen? Listen, here's my problem. I suck in math and I suck in science, so there's not many jobs left for me after that. But my gut tells me I want to go to Wall Street and make deals like that. But what I would probably do is stay in the attraction business that I'm in. I love that business because there's no fighting. And I did it as a hobby. I've always thought what I could have done with my attraction and amusement business if I'd had it full time instead of, it was more like collecting stamps than anything, to tell you the truth.
So you made some comments about liking capitalism and how much legislation you did for raising the minimum wage for $15 an hour here in Florida. Is there anyone at your law firm or your multiple businesses that you're paying less than $15 an hour now?
No. And I wasn't paying less then because I believe that a living wage is a civil right. I also believe that retaining employees with a living wage and bonuses, it's good for business. I believe by paying more to my employees, I keep them, attrition is lower.
Yeah, I think that's good because then you'll get competition, you'll get better people working at your company, and the people that works there will be happier and will most likely work harder for you compared to if you treat them like shit and don't pay them. They don't really want to work for you, but they just have to do it.
Believe it or not, although it sounds backwards, I believe by paying more, I make more because I keep people, and my people are really all I have.
So in your opinion, why aren't other billionaires doing the same thing that you're doing?
Well,
Because it depends on the job. Like, if you have lawyers, that's one thing, but like when you need just somebody to pack some packages for like Amazon, for example, it doesn't really matter that much how much they get paid.
I think some are and some aren't. A lot of people have to, like once I raised the minimum wage here in Florida, all of a sudden, out of the blue, Universal raised the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I kind of took credit for that. At a certain point, when wages start to rise, businesses have to respond, because if Universal's paying $15, then Disney's got to pay $15, because who cares if you're running Small World or Harry Potter? You're looking for a job.
So you mentioned a little bit how you've put money into politics and things like that, and in the current political climate in the United States, our government's run by the billionaires, kind of for the billionaires. What do you think the moral role of a billionaire should be within the United States government?
By and large, the opposite of what it is. These fat cats got so much money, but they want the tax laws to benefit them. Like these hedge fund people don't even pay taxes. And so the billionaire.
Yeah, why not? Like, if you have a shit ton of money, why would you want somebody to take it away? And it's like, yeah, like here in Norway, for example, we have a lot of people just moves away because of the taxes. And to be honest, like, I kind of understand it. If you have so much money and shit, and they try to take all your money, why just not move, and then you don't have to pay that much in taxes.
Are not satisfied with what they have. They want more and more and more and more. And what my worry is, this income inequality, at some point there's a breaking point. At some point you can become Cuba. And what I would say to these billionaires, you're going to make this gulf so big and so vast, just because you don't think it could ever happen in America, just remember January 6th. Just remember them storming the Capitol. Those were the barbarians at the gate, and they were mad as hell. And you know what they're mad about? They were mad because they think they're going to fall further and further behind. They weren't mad, and they thought Donald Trump was the one that could do it for them. But that's why they stormed the Capitol. And when I saw it, I said, that could be our future if we let the haves and the have-nots get so separated.
I think everybody knows that probably every single billionaire does evade taxes. And he did say that he wants billionaires to be taxed so high, but I can promise you he probably has found ways to evade taxes.
Back in around like 1940.
Accusations? Okay. He's a lawyer though, so he could be really good at it. He knows the laws, so he could probably evade them pretty easily. I'm just saying. I'm not. I didn't say that he did it, but if he wanted, he could.
The tax rate was around like 90, higher than 90%, right? Would you be somebody that would advocate to bring back such a high tax rate in order to redistribute the wealth?
I don't know about 90% because you got to have some motivation. Listen.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you have so high taxes, people just don't want to work for it. You need some sort of motivation. That's why, like, you have people researching cancer and all that shit. It's because if they're able to do it, they know they can make a lot of money. Like, again, big tech companies that helps the world in a lot of cases, right? With the internet and stuff, they know they can make a lot of money on it, so that's why they're pushing it so fast. And yeah.
I am a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I also believe we have to do the most for the most with least.
So when you mention capitalism, right? Capitalism is kind of inherently parasitical, right? You're going to always take more from the workers. You're going to put a profit on their labor that they're putting into the business. And I think now we're seeing that capitalism inherently causes these income inequalities. So I think we need to expand those social safety.
You kind of need inequality, but there is also a very big difference between having a shit ton of people making nothing and just having a few people making a shit ton, because you need a little bit of inequality, because it makes people that's lower wants to get higher up, right? You're looking at people that are doing well and you're like, damn, I want to be that person, so I'm gonna put the work in, I'm gonna become a doctor or whatever, I'm gonna start my own business. So you kind of need a small inequality. But when you have something like America, where it's a very, very large difference, then it can begin to hurt people.
as we need to increase taxes on the wealthy in order to allow the poor to enjoy, the things that maybe you enjoyed when you were younger and things like that.
Well, look, I agree with you, and I think it's really for these people who are so rich, they're going to lose it one way or the other if they don't. Because look, the thing about, you got socialism and capitalism. Socialism on paper makes a lot of sense, but then you got to count on everybody working. Will they all work? But in the short run, what we're
Yeah, you probably need to have like a combination of both, right? Just pure socialism would just destroy just the economy in a lot of places, and you wouldn't really be able to make any businesses or really like push something forward compared to capitalism. If you're pure capitalism, you will have basically shit on a lot of people, and a few people benefit from it. So you would kind of need like a fusion, a mixture between those both ideologies.
seeing right now with this big, beautiful bill that they're talking about, we're talking about cutting all sorts of benefits to give more money to the rich and dig our country into trillions of more long-term debt. And I look
Yeah,
at it
super.
and I scratch my head. The rich should be taxed bigger and harder. And so the reason I'm more for capitalism is because if you go to a socialistic country like France,
France is not socialist.
France is
It depends on how socialist you will go. It's one of the more socialist countries out there, right? It is just like America isn't a pure capitalist. It's not pure capitalism. You still have some socialist parts like free education on the lower levels. That's socialism. In Norway, we are also more socialists than capitalists. So, like, France is very much on the socialist side.
not,
No, you look at, let's say China. We'll give China for
well,
example.
China
I wouldn't necessarily call China a lot more socialistic than France because they have some pretty high taxes. But again, China, yes, yes, yes. That will also go under socialist.
Say
not,
China's a
China's
socialist.
communism. I've been to
Ah, is it? Is it? No, not really. Most people don't actually know what communism is. People just think communism is socialism, and it's not. And China is not a communist country. It's a socialist country, not a communist country.
China.
China's not communist.
Huh?
China's not communist. They're
Yeah,
run by the Chinese Communist Party, but they're not.
What
don't
are
have
they?
It's not. Yeah, yeah.
They're a socialist country.
Socialist?
Yes, and you
Yeah.
look at their
Man,
infrastructure.
hey
you
man,
look at
I've been to
their
China.
wealth inequality, and it's actually pretty.
Yeah, you've been to China and you see that they have money. Damn, shit. They're not communist because if you're a communist country, you don't have any government. You don't have any money. You just have people working and just sustaining themselves. So that's a communist country. A lot of people think that communism and socialism is the same, or that communism is just so yeah. But it's not. If you just research it, communism is where you have a country, without a government, without money, and like again, you just sustain yourself. You make your own food, you make your own clothes, and just people take care of each other. Which is a pretty stupid thing in today. When it first became a thing, it was smarter when you actually had like smaller communities where you didn't really actually need money. You just had some people just making the food, some people making the clothes, some people making the housing, and you could just like all live together, just relying on each other. But now when you have like mega cities with like 10 million people, you can't really be communist anymore because, let's say, you wouldn't have any doctors because it takes a lot of time and often a lot of money to become a doctor. And who wants to go to school for like 7 years when you just have somebody else that didn't really take any higher education, just living the same life as you. You need an economical incentive to actually do a lot of stuff. So that's why you need an economy in today's age. So that's why communism wouldn't work.
Good.
Have you ever been to China?
Have I? No. Why
Let me
would I
tell you
be-
something. It is the most oppressed country
No,
I've ever
no.
been to.
Look, no. China
Take North Korea, for example.
is not oppressed. Look at China. China is they
It's,
have great.
it's worse. And I think China has evolved quite a lot recently. There were a lot of wars of just a couple of years ago, but I think they're moving in the right direction.
Social safety nets.
You need to go to China and watch the people with their heads down.
This is a completely different China we're talking about.
But again, it's far from perfect.
I'm not China today.
I'm talking. Yeah. Okay, if we're talking about China today, then no.
That you have drank the wrong Kool-Aid.
I was like, oh, I'm the only Asian person in the room, so it's like so weird to see somebody kind of like debate about a country that my mom is from. I would have to agree with John more in terms of like China being a communist country.
John,
I would agree more, but you could just 100% agree because it's not.
I'm a parent, and one of the challenges I have is making sure that my mindset is not my children's mindset. How do you overcome that challenge as a billionaire to make sure your children have their own mindsets?
That's hard to do because they live with you and they hear you. The interesting thing about life is you get older, you start listening to your children, you're like, they're stealing all my shit. I said that, I did that. But what I used to tell them is this: when you're watching me, take the good parts and leave the bad parts. And the thing I used to tell my kids is the only thing that I want you to be, I don't care what you are other than this, I want you to be a compassionate human being. I want you to put other people first. And that's the only mindset that I wanted them to take. And I think that they have done that.
One of my goals, I think, is to make my kids better than me. What's your main challenge that you see as a billionaire making?
That could be kind of hard actually, because you don't know how to be better than yourself. You maybe you do, but like if you're a place in life, like let's say a decent place, you're middle class, you don't know how to go further beyond most likely, because otherwise you would have done it. Maybe some people do it and knows it, but they don't bother doing it. But most people don't really know how to go beyond where they are now. So then it's hard to listen to, like, for example, let's say your parents, if they aren't at the level you actually want to be. If you want to go higher, you should probably speak and learn from somebody that is higher up.
Your kids better than you.
The main challenge is that your children do not feel entitled. There's nothing worse than an entitled person, somebody who was born with a silver spoon stuck up their butt, and they become the worst person in the world. I never bought my kids nice cars because I knew they were going to be dinged. And you have to make your kids work. You have to have consequences that are consistent. But the main thing you have to do, if I was giving advice as a parent, you got to spend a whole lot of time. It's all about the time. And remember this, your child is one friend away from total disaster. And when you see that friend, you got to separate that friend as hard as it is.
So you just mentioned that when you have a child who is having a friend that you find them to be not good for them, essentially, that you have to do what you can to separate them. As a billionaire, what does that entail for you?
Well, you can only do so much. I mean, I've only separated 2 friends in all the years. And one was a kid who used to come over and, you know, he just reeked of marijuana and he was stoned and I just had a bad vibe. And I said, look, so-and-so, you can't go over there and he can't come over here. My son Matthew was enraged. You can't tell me who's going to...
I kind of understand why he's doing it, and your friends can mean a lot, you know, because if they are going on the wrong path, you may just follow them. Compared to somebody that's seeking success, for example, you will most likely follow them to success.
Be my friend. I said, I'm telling you, you can't go there and they can't come here. But you can't stop them at school. You can't stop them at a certain point. Later in life, I was justified because that kid that I was worried about ended up in prison.
I'm someone who works with youth in Orlando. I spend every moment of my days to coach and develop the youth in Orlando. And I work with at-risk youth. And one of the biggest things that I have seen in Orlando is that since medical marijuana was passed as a bill in Florida, marijuana use has become normalized among the youth and those that are underaged. One of the things that you mentioned earlier is that you didn't allow your son to be friends with someone who smoked pot because he smelled loud and he smoked weed. So why would you advocate for a bill like that to be passed when you kicked someone out of your family's circle who was smoking weed themselves?
When my brother was paralyzed, they had him on Percocet, Xanax, and everything else. The only thing that gave him relief, immediate relief, was marijuana. Listen, I believe that marijuana use at an early age fries the mind. I drug tested my children a lot, and my son Matthew failed that drug test a lot. But here's the difference. Would I rather have my brother taking marijuana gummy or opioids, fentanyl? It's a no-brainer. So I don't think marijuana use is on the rise. Let me tell you something. If you want marijuana today, go to any middle school in America.
Yep.
And we'll have a nickel bag real fast.
Yeah. So do you feel that there's an ethical gray area when it comes to use of marijuana or other drugs in the youth or in adults in our country? And do you think that that leads to potentially a ethical gray area for you as a billionaire as it relates to other things in your life?
Medical marijuana, no way.
Like, I feel like these people are making some pretty good question, especially him, right? He's generally like he's curious,
Because listen, where I think the unethical conduct is,
and like they want to listen instead of just argue with him, you know, just being like, oh, you're destroying country, rah, rah. Like they're actually just asking questions, and that's pretty nice to see in this age.
coming from is from the pharmaceutical industry. Marijuana is a plant that was put into earth by God or by nature, and it works. I don't know how it works. I don't know how aloe works, but when you rub aloe on sunscreen, it goes away. So I feel very good morally, ethically, every single way about what I did with medical marijuana. And here's the proof in the pudding. 1 million people in Florida have a card, and guess who uses it mostly? People 65 and older. Go to the marijuana stores, look at the marijuana stores, look who's going in. It ain't kids, it's me.
Yeah, so I'm still really confused about the marijuana thing. I feel like with a lot of billionaires, they do want to care for people, but they really don't want them around them. So that's what I feel that you feel with the marijuana. You're fine with people growing it, you're fine with people doing whatever. But right when it's in your house, you don't really care about the person and you want them not around you or your family.
I'd take
It depends on how old the kid is, right? If he's like 13, 14, and he's testing positive for marijuana, I understand it. But if he's older, I don't
you got me
know. I
every
don't know.
night. It's in my house what are you talking about?
Then why did you kick the person out of your house?
He was a kid who I thought was, not just that he reeked of marijuana, he was a kid who I thought was bad news. I didn't think that he was.
Yeah, and if it's before it was legalized, he's doing a crime, so you just basically, your son is friends with a criminal. Just, if you're gonna put it lightly, you know.
Smoking marijuana, I thought he was selling marijuana. Look, I think all of Matthew's friends smoke marijuana, and so that wasn't the issue. The issue was this guy might be a criminal. This guy is a bad influence. So don't.
Yeah, like again, like he's a criminal, so I understand why he wouldn't want his son
Don't
to
take
be
it
with
the
him.
wrong way.
Okay, so you kind of briefly talked on like for-profit CEOs and things like that. I was just kind of hoping to hear your take on the current state of, healthcare and what recently occurred with their CEO.
Before I answer that question, I want to go back.
Oh shit! No, healthcare in the United States is just it's mind blowing. Holy shit! I don't understand how it's even a thing.
The coach's question about marijuana, just so everybody understands where I stand. If John Morgan was king, I'd legalize marijuana all over the country, and I'd let you grow it at your house. So That's how I feel about marijuana. As far as the healthcare, think about this for a minute. There's only one place that we go ever, and we never ask what it cost. When you go to get your hair cut, what's it cost? When you go to buy a candy bar, what's it cost? When you walk into a hospital,
And the photo thing is that when, for example, somebody breaks the arm, leg, or whatever, are ill, they don't go to the hospital because they can't afford it, and that's just fucked up. And it's crazy to see like how every other country have free healthcare, and America don't.
none of us ever ask what it's going to cost. You can get a Tylenol pill over here for 20 bucks. It could be $1 at the other hospital. The of the insurance industry by healthcare is awful. It's off the charts. Our pharmaceuticals in this country are way more money than pharmaceuticals in his favorite country, China. And so you've got the healthcare where we don't ask what things cost, and then you got insurance companies who are fighting healthcare.
Yeah, well, let's say childbirth. What they're going to do? Like hassle, try to find another hospital? No, you just go there and just give birth, and now you have to pay like a shit ton of money.
And
Stupid.
they're trying to gouge, the hospitals are trying to gouge, the insurance companies are trying to not be gouged, they're fighting, and guess who's stuck in the middle? The person who needs treatment, the person who has cancer, and they're saying, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. And then what happens? People go postal, people snap.
So would you be in favor then of a socialized form of healthcare in the United States?
If you say no to this, I think you're pretty stupid.
I don't know how it will work. Listen,
Every other major country has a socialized form of healthcare.
when Obama was president, he came to my house as president. I supported Obama. I'm on the National Finance Committee for Obama. And one of the things that I really liked about Obama was Obamacare. A lot of people lost their House seats for voting for Obamacare. So listen, I'm all ears about anything we can do to get more medicine and more treatment to people. My brother-in-law is a physician up in Haines City, Florida. I have a clinic called the Morgan & Morgan Clinic where he runs it, I fund it, and we take care of everybody who has lost in the system who can't get care.
How do you deal with profiting over other people's injuries in your law firm?
Every business is in business to make a profit. If you don't have a profit, you don't have a business. On the other side of me and on the other side of my clients are insurance companies. Insurance companies do this. They take in premiums and they try not to pay claims. When they try not to pay claims fairly, that's when I'm hired. When I'm hired, the people who are hiring me cannot afford a lawyer by the hour. And the insurance industry, they live in this world. Deny, delay, defend. Their job is to never be fair with you. The people who come to me at their time of need are people who've had something taken from them. The business I'm in is being the key to the courthouse for people who can't afford it, taking all of the risk, and believe me, I've lost some cases where I've written off millions of dollars. But at the end of the day, the only thing between me and them getting a fair shake from the insurance industry is what we do, which is take them to trial. So I never even realized it could be this lucrative until I got in it. But I've also scaled it in such a way that most personal injury firms are like, one-trick ponies in one city. I built mine throughout the entire United States, and by having the scale that I have, my profit got a lot bigger.
You have mentioned before that you make money off of people's injuries and stuff like that. Do you think it's ethical to, I don't want to say take advantage of people, but take advantage of people when they're most vulnerable?
I think what I do is highly ethical. I think that the insurance industry is very unethical. I believe that I'm the difference between people getting back what was taken from them and relying on the
Yeah, I don't know too much about Morgan, but I think they are a law firm that fights like people getting injured and shit. So I think what he's doing is a good thing, right? He's making money from people being injured, but that's from the insurance and shit, and he's trying to help them get their money back. So I don't know too much about it, but he seems like An ethical man.
Insurance company. I believe that what I do is almost, not quite, like a ministry, because people come to me in their most desperate hour, whether they've lost
Yeah, and if they become big enough, great
their
shot.
home.
Just the insurance may actually just pay people instead of trying to deny claims, because if they know that if they deny claims, somebody like Morgan may come in and take more money from their pocket, and they don't like that. So they may just end up just giving them the money for the claims themselves instead of, just denying it and have to pay even more.
Home, lost a life, lost a limb, lost livelihood, and they have no way to fight back. So I can tell you this, I sleep very well with what I do and why I do it, because I am the civil police representing the people who cannot have a voice for themselves. I got into this business because my brother Tim was paralyzed, so I got to see what it's like to be on the other side. I got to see what it's like to be the poor person that's being oppressed. And I'll tell you what, it is the worst feeling in the whole world to be hopeless, powerless, helpless. And when you get to step in and even the playing field and say, hey, that ain't gonna happen. And when they try to give you peanuts, we're like, we're not taking peanuts. When I walk into my lobbies throughout America, when I see those clients sitting there, I see my brother, I see my family, and I want to treat them exactly the way I would have wanted to be treated.
Do you believe most billionaires and lawyers are compassionate?
I think it all depends on the person. I believe what's helped me.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are assholes. But you probably have a lot of good people as well.
In my life was I came from a very difficult childhood with a lot of economic insecurity and alcoholism. Everything bad that you could think happened did happen. But the good thing about those things, if you take it the right way, is those things can generate later in life serious compassion on your part. Whenever I would see somebody homeless, I used to tell my children, just remember this, they don't want to be there. And once upon a time, that was a little girl and little boy eating an ice cream cone, swinging, having the time of their life. And they don't want to be there. And don't judge them, because we don't know how they got there.
John, how do you care for your clients when you're done with them? I know your motto is for the people, but it seems like it's only for the client. Up until a certain point, the award is won, the case is closed. How do you take care of your people after you're done with them?
Here's how I take care of the people. I change conduct.
Just like give them a shit ton of money and they're taken care of.
I just got a big verdict against Takata airbags down in Miami a few weeks ago. I can promise you this, because of my cases, Takata is changing their conduct. I'm one of the lawyers on the opioid cases. These pharmaceutical companies were killing us. That's not happening anymore. I have cases against the tobacco industry. The tobacco industry is in the business of premeditated murder. These are evil, evil, evil companies. And so for the people, not my clients, the people who I'll never represent, the people who will never know me, I'm changing conduct.
My question to you, throughout law school, I heard a lot that lawyers are the reason why insurance costs so much and is expensive. So what is your take on that?
Well, you heard that from the insurance industry. There's been tort reform after tort reform all across America. And you know why they have this, what's called tort reform? To take away your rights, my rights, their rights. They say, we're going to take certain rights away from you, and your rates are going to go down. But here's what's never happened. They've never tied one of those bills to a mandatory decrease of insurance premiums. These insurance companies take premiums in, they make bad investments, and then they say, oh, the lawyers are causing us to make bad investments. No, the lawyers aren't the problem. The insurance companies who run their companies poorly are the problem, and they just want bigger profits. And by the way, when you go home, Google their profits. Google what their CEOs are making. They're not hurting. They're making a lot of money.
If you lost all of your wealth tomorrow, what would be your next step in this struggling economy? Do you think you could pull it off? Do you think you could be just as successful?
I think if I did this again, I would not be.
It depends, right? He knows people. I think he could get up on his feet again, right? He knows people, he has the knowledge. But if he just became a random person, it would maybe be different.
This successful. This has been a series of left turns and right turns, and all of a sudden you end up here. I'm not arrogant enough. I believe that 99% of what's happened to me is luck or blessings or whatever you want to call it.
Like it depends. Like most people, what they do is that they just go to the 9 to 5 jobs, just working. And they don't do anything more than to go to work to try to make it, you know. And they go, they get a paycheck, they become happy, they go out, they spend it, they do it over and over and over again, and they don't try to do anything to actually grow. And that's often a big thing when it comes to rich people, is that they have always tried or try to do something different compared to most people. Just complain and they're working the same job, and a lot of jobs pay too little, especially in this economy when everything is so expensive. Before you could be like a baker and you could make a decent living, but now you can't do that. But most people don't try to do anything else to actually make money. They just keep on going to their job, getting the same paycheck over and over and over again, and then they just use it.
I'm a pastor, and one of the core tenets of many faith systems in the world is a rejection of possessions and wealth. Do you feel like you had to sacrifice part of yourself or your faith or your family to be able to get where you are today?
Not at all, because my faith has been at the forefront of everything I've done. It's the teachings from my faith guide me not only in my life, but in my business life. And those lessons are fairly clear to me. Do I think I need to take a vow of poverty? I don't think so. If I'd done that, I would have been a Catholic priest. So no, I have never found a conflict in making money in my faith. I think the conflict would be if I made money and didn't use my money for what I've been taught to use my money for. What my goal is I don't live anywhere near what I make, except, you know, my jet, and that is excess. But I don't live.
Except my private jet, you know. It ain't that much.
Live that way, and my goal now is that I think my children are set. I do not want to leave the government one penny. I think that, I mean, if you want to see your money wasted, give it to Congress. And what I want to do is I want to do as much as I can while I'm alive and leave a huge amount of money into a foundation, and that will say at that foundation, faith without works is dead.
I personally work at my family's cafe, and I was wondering, how much do you normally tip customer service workers that are in serving positions?
$100, and I'll tell you why. We're a member of 3 different churches, and my wife gives away.
Doesn't it depend on a restaurant? If you go into like a high-end restaurant, or the bill is like a lot more, wouldn't you tip more compared to coffee? Or but if you just have a crazy amount of money, like $1 billion, $100 isn't really that much.
I don't even know what she gives to these churches, but I am much more interested in leaving $100 tips for my servers and for the people who cut my hair than.
That's something I also don't understand. Why are the servers getting all the tips? What about the chef? Everything is based on the chef, if the experience is good or not, you know. If the food is bad, everything is bad. If the food is good, you know, where's the tips for the chefs? Why only the servers?
Throwing $100 in the collection plate, because $100 to somebody can change their day. I got a case one time where a little boy was killed by a bus in Jacksonville My investigator called me and said, I just think I'd tell you how we got this case. I said, how? He said, the woman met you once. I said, when did she meet me? 5 years ago. Where? It was Christmas Eve at Bob Evans. And I went there for breakfast with my daughter. And she told my investigator, and he left me a $100 tip. That's why she called me. So I don't know where your cafe is, but let me know and I'll come in and
Amazing.
leave you a $100 tip.
I'll definitely let you know. That's an amazing tip. Thank you, John.
Do you believe it's justifiable to be worth $1 billion while millions live in poverty?
No. If I could undo it all and let us all be the same, that's what I would do.
Okay, and do you believe, because I heard something about how you don't agree with the government spending, which I actually do agree with.
Is this what he's actually thinking, or is this what he knows? Like, you know, is that what he thinks, or is that what's the right thing to say?
So how would you split up the money?
The most to the most with the least. I believe that there are people that are, and I don't believe it, I know it. When you go out to the Morgan Hunger Relief Center, the people that are walking in there are not the homeless. They're walking in there dressed in work clothes with their children to get free food. And it's an abomination.
Yeah, because I go to the University of Florida because I remember you mentioned.
Yeah, that's like the most fucked up thing right now is that you can have a job. You can work 9 to 5 every single day, and you still don't make enough to actually become something, or just like have money left. You don't have enough to live.
It. And one thing I've noticed as a college student is that there is a lot of corruption throughout it, from the president, even from student government funneling millions. And then when I look into to see what happened to them, nothing really happened. They didn't go to jail or anything.
Look, the University of Florida, they hired this president who was just a buddy of the governor's, and he came up there and raped the University of Florida and took so much money, and he's still on the payroll, Ben Sass.
Yeah, that's what a lot of college students are talking about.
It's an outrage. And by the way, when you Google those articles, the alligator, I'm all over those all over those articles, ripping him a new.
So you just mentioned that everyone's a politician now, but you also said that you also have done at least 2 different things with legislation. So would you consider yourself to also be a politician?
Sorta. Everybody wants me to run for governor of Florida right now. When I'd go to the White House, they'd take me over to the side and show me polling on me. And there's a side of me that thinks I could be good at it, but then there's a side of me that really enjoys living in Maui half the year. So I became sort of a politician because, listen, they were fighting me hard on the minimum wage. They were fighting me hard on medical marijuana. And I was out debating sheriffs, and everybody I was debating had a green suit on and a gun. So it's like, a little hard to debate them. So I was sort of a politician because I was in the political realm. And that's why all this talk about me, about people wanting me to run for governor is percolating.
So today, I think we've all sat here and we've heard you talk about your jet and Maui and your 3 homes and the money that sits in your account that you don't care to touch. I think we all have experienced at some point in time that moment that you talked about as a kid, sitting there hoping and praying that somebody would help you. So I guess my question that you didn't really answer, you just told me how much you have. What stops you from helping every person in this room that's struggling right now?
You want some cash.
That can't pay a bill, had to miss out on work. How do you help them?
I don't judge them. Right, shoot your shots.
What do you do? Because you got a private jet, but I had to take off from work today, and I'm struggling. I got bills, man. And I'm not begging for money, but I'm saying, what stops you from being able to go and help us and change our lives? Because...
Let me give you 100 while we're here.
Thank you.
Don't buy marijuana.
No, I don't smoke.
At
I
the
don't
middle
drink.
school.
No, man.
Nothing stops me. Listen, here's how I look at it. I went to a religious retreat one time under duress. It was called a Crescio. And I thought it was going to be a bunch of bullshit, and it was basically a bunch of bullshit. But at the very end, it all came down to one thing that I took from that meeting. And here's what I took. I can't change the whole world. I would love to be able to. But the phrase that I took from that Crescio weekend was, bloom where you're planted. What does that mean? That means I can't solve hardly anything. But every once in a while, I'll get a God whisper, somebody asking. Then I think back to that Crescio, and it's like, bloom where you're planted. And I feel like at this moment, that's what I'm being asked to do. And I can only do so much. I'm trying to manage my money so that at the end of it all, it can have the greatest bang for its buck.
You know, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not sure if there's anything that would have been a perfect answer, just because he's really good at talking to you and he's a likable guy, and he's soft
Yeah, that's typical for a lawyer.
in the eyes, so it's easy for him to get you on his side. So I don't know if there's anything he could have said that would have completely changed my mind, but
I'm gonna give you all 10 million. I think that would change his mind. I'm pretty sure.
I think showing your actions, he handed me $100, but there were people in the room had told their stories throughout the day, and with a wad of cash in your hand,
Yeah, like why didn't they give like money to everybody? It's like, yeah, you. You had $100. He could probably just give everybody $100.
and you could shut me up, but he could have given it to everybody. He could have shown in that moment that he has the power to change your life, and he could try to change your life. Even if it's a small amount, it's better than nothing. And he didn't really.
But $100 isn't really a lot in the grand scheme of things, right? Like, what's that? Rent? No, you'll need like a couple of hundreds. Maybe electricity, you know. A week's worth of food.
Do that.
One of the takeaways I
Okay, again, okay, a week's worth of food is quite nice.
took is there was a quiet desperation, a little bit of a worry about the future, and a little resentment about people who have money.
So I think billionaires are inherently parasitical to society as a whole. No matter how they accumulated that wealth, they're always going to be profiting off of the backs of people who are doing the work. In his case, he's the better of evil.
I think there's a big difference between how people get their money, right? If you give a service, which is like, for example, let's say entertainment, and then you just have a lot of people that wants to buy that entertainment. I think that's different from people making a big profit from, for example, food, where people have to eat food, and they are just using that to make a shit ton of money. And again, in United States where you have healthcare, how you can basically just stomp on the people to get money from them that way. I think there's a big difference in how people make money and ethically and stuff. Like, you have some companies that are just like bad, and you have some that's better.
System in general, while he is helping injured people get the settlement that they feel they deserve, he is still profiting off of advocating for that injury.
I'm of the volition that there's nothing wrong with billionaires. I am a rabid capitalist, and I know John talked about that a lot, but that is who I am. That is my background. I think that if you have a financial wealth, yes, you should definitely do good things with it, and you need to help the people around you. That's just moral code. But I don't believe that billionaires are inherently bad. Or
Yeah, because they make a lot of stuff, They're giving a lot of people work, and they can help people in a lot of ways. But I think there's a very big difference when you come to a point where 1% of the people own 50% of the wealth, and there is a difference between a billionaire and somebody that has a couple of millions. But that looks like it's the end of this video.
They're out to prove world domination or something of the sort like that.
I think a lot of the questions are going to help me reflect on those questions and what I should and am doing.
Yeah, so like, billionaires, good, bad? It's hard to say. I would say rich people, not bad. Billionaires, maybe. I don't know. Depends. But that was the end of the video. Goodbye. Oh, by the way, you see this guy? He's pretty cool. Give a like, thumbs up for him, and subscribe. It would mean a lot, New channel and shit.